generally speaking, you don't really have a choice whether you love your parents or not. You just do. If anything, your relationship with your parents is the first entry in your lifelong definition of what love even is. And I loved him. But more than that, I liked him a lot. I admired him. I was proud of him. He had a brilliant mind, a clever wit, a compassionate heart, and an open, adventurous, good-humored nature. Growing up, it's common for kids to complain about their parents, their friends, to share stories about how unfair and draconian they are. Even as an adolescent, I just never felt that way. My dad deprived me of scoring those social points by making me take the uncool position of thinking he was a pretty reasonable and thoughtful guy whom I genuinely respected. I can hardly think of a memory of Dad as an adult which didn't start with a twinkle in his eye and a bemused smile in anticipation of whatever we were going to talk about. And I can hardly think of a memory of him which didn't end in him or I laughing. His good-humored and kind nature has fundamentally shaped who I am and enabled him to easily touch and connect with so many other lives around the world. My whole life I've identified with him. I felt as though we were cut from the same cloth. Except his cloth could have beaten mine in historical trivia any day. He was an intellectual, a Renaissance man, a lawyer by profession, a historian and world traveler at heart, who loved the symphony, opera, theater, and would eagerly dive into discussions about theoretical physics with me. As soon as he retired, he started taking classes right away. He also loved sports and made it to just about every game Jordan or I ever played. He got into it too. One of my proudest moments growing up was scoring a beautiful soccer goal in high school and seeing him react on the sidelines as if he had just seen the Bears score a touchdown against the Packers in person. He knew there was no such thing as a study or profession that was too hard to be successful in as long as you worked hard enough at it. That's a lesson he had learned growing up, a farm boy, the first in his family to go off to university and then law school. And there's no question that Dad at times felt insecure about trying to compete with all the city kids academically. But he responded by preparing twice as hard and allowing his work ethic to speak for itself. Passing that lesson to his kids, that there was nothing I couldn't achieve if I worked hard at it, that intellectual confidence was another of his great gifts. His deep interest in history connected with his passion for social justice. He was a lifelong advocate for a better society, and his historical knowledge gave him strong ideas for what that meant and how we could get there, or how we could instead get to a darker place if we're not careful. Whether it was through volunteering at homeless shelters or food banks, raising money for UNICEF, supporting trips to build houses through Habitat for Humanity, volunteering as an election judge or as a literacy coach, going to political demonstrations, and on, he walked the walk and instilled those values. It has been a great joy of my life to see him interact with his grandkids, to see the same infectious smile, twinkle in his eye, and desire to play when Bimo or Balsam came running or toddling up to him. And I'll end with this. When I was growing up, I never knew my dad to be a troublemaker, as his sisters attest. But in retrospect, that might explain some things that he let me get away with. Perhaps he empathized with the personality type. When I was 17, he got me a car to help with a commute to Glen Ellen for high school. It was a red Mitsubishi Eclipse, a little sports car, stick shift, so he taught me how to drive it. I was feeling really good that day, as you might imagine. So when it came time to choose a license plate, I went with the first thing that came to my head, and Dad just laughed and let them do it. In the summer, I was tasked with breaking down an old mattress box frame so we could get rid of it, throw it away. So I set it outside, and then I gave a few swings with a hammer. That didn't do it. So I did the next logical escalation of force, doused the whole thing in lawnmower gasoline, and set it on. Burned to ashes in the ground and killing all the grass underneath. Now, I'm not going to say that Dad was happy with that. That wasn't one of the memories that ended with him laughing. At least not when I was looking. But he also did disown me, and that has got to count for something.
Out of fairness, I need to take a moment and share this with our friends in here. Yeah, I can see it. A note was left on the pulpit from Andy White. Is Andy here, or are we to read this for him? Nobody is leaping up. Are you here?
I'm here to read it for him.
Excellent. Please come forward and do so.
Hello, I'm Bill Barassa. I met Lou as a freshman at the University of Michigan. There's a few of us here today. There's about 17 of us that get together every other year. And Andy wrote a nice prose here, and I'm here to read it. Lou, a lifelong friend, a mentor, big brother, counselor, genuine, caring, intelligent, good buddy, courage, integrity, gregarious, excellent judge of character, family man, husband, father, teacher, grandfather. Perhaps by now you can see that Lou had a big influence on me and many others. Pilot program freshman men in Hinsdale House, East Quadrangle, University of Michigan, in 1967. Lou was our graduate resident advisor, then and for another year when we moved with the pilot program to Alice Lloyd Hall, when he helped lead the co-educating of the University of Michigan dormitory system, men and women together, oh my. The beginning of environmental movement, protest marches, the draft times were catching all around us. Together, we navigated the incredible changes of the late 1960s and 70s. Flower power, the peace movement, Vietnam War, Richard Nixon, the first draft lottery, the last panty raids when the jocks came to our door not knowing that men lived there too. Michigan football games, etc. As time went on, we integrated several other couples into our group and always kept in touch. We were all lucky to have found such a fine group of friends and colleagues, scattered around the world but still connected. We could fill a large book with our collective exploits at college and beyond. A group of us really bonded with each other and Lou, and have stayed lifelong friends. Lou, being 5 years older than us, led the way that many of us followed, finishing our educations, starting a career, finding lifelong partners. We recall how smitten Lou was with Jean, having children, etc. We kept a long tradition of biannual reunions at the big house for Michigan football games together, stuck together and kept in touch through thick and thin, sickness and health, good times and bad. We Lou's dormitory changes, and those who joined us later included our children, who have told me how Lou helped them easily find the real camaraderie that we all still enjoy. Are deeply saddened by Lou's passing. Our hearts ache for his wonderful family, and we are remembered that our times together was truly special, and we will endeavor to always remember the things Lou taught us both explicitly and by example. What a fine human being we're privileged to know. This only scratches the surface of what all of us are feeling and remembering, as we are all grateful for having Lou in our lives with sour and fond memories.
Are there others who have prepared to speak? Are there others who would like to speak off the cuff? And maybe not now is a perfectly acceptable response. It's not always easy to share the memories of someone we have cared about so deeply. I will admit that this is the first time in 39, almost 40 years, I have stepped into the pulpit for a memorial, unsure if I could get through it. I loved Lou, all of your family, very deeply. And here at UUSG, we will always remember Lou singing in the choir, singing in the UUSG Follies, making a complete fool of himself, along with all the rest of us who got roped into doing that. Mentoring our young people, serving as president for the board of directors and the congregation more often than I think he wanted to. He escaped, we brought him back. Facilitating sessions for newcomers, being one of the first faces to welcome people into this community. He enthusiastically took on the role of our representative atheist in a group of theists, Wiccans, Buddhists, pagans, Christians, and Jews, and the confused. He marveled frequently that he, a confirmed and public atheist, was not only welcome at a church, but kept being elected to its leadership. He fit in here just fine. He led our capital campaign to restore the old building exterior. He played his cornet in our old, not quite ready for Salvation Army band. He represented our congregation as well as other groups as part of our Trivia Bee team, competing against other organizations to raise money for the Fox Valley Literacy Program. He gladly and patiently asked fellow church members to pony up at pledge time. He cornered me one year. Beyond his active participation here, he was, as you've said, and as we know, he was an election judge, a literacy volunteer, a political activist. Most recently, I'm told, using his wheelchair status, there's always secondary gain, in a rally to support Obamacare. And as Gene said in his bed at Del Nor, no matter how hard the nursing staff tried, they could not stop Lou from always leaning left. Lou and Jean married in April of 1971. And in 1996, they celebrated 25 years together. Not a renewal, they were very clear, they didn't need to renew anything. It still held. But as part of that celebration, we used the symbolism of candles. Remember, 3 central candles, and for you and Lou and the marriage, and then surrounded by candles in a variety of colors to represent their sons and all the rest of the extended family, the circle of love and care that always surrounded them.